And are you superstitious at all?
In sports, yeah.
Okay. Because I know a lot of other hockey podcasts have this sort of thing where after they finish recording, big news breaks.
This is exactly how I was going to start, but keep
But
going.
we have the opposite, and right now it's a blessing. That's why if you're superstitious, I won't continue. But we get news that breaks hours before we decide to record, and I couldn't be more grateful because this episode would have been slightly boring if not.
If you could take a bet on when trades were going to happen, you always take it the night before UFR records. It happened with the Kachuk trade, and then we recorded the next day. It's now happening with the JT Miller one, and the one before that was with Kadri, right?
And Kadri signed the day before.
Yeah, very lucky, very topical. But I guess it is a great segue to start into JT Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Let me hear your thoughts about JT.
I was kind of surprised because there was no indication that this was a deal that was going to get done, and it just happened to come out on like a random Friday evening in the middle of August, or the end of August, or beginning of September. Jesus, 7 years, $8 million per. That sounds like a lot of money to me.
See, here's the thing. Last year he had 99 points
was a beast
in 80 games, right? And I think the problem is his previous best was 72 and 82. If JT Miller puts up 90 to 95 points for the next 4 years, it's a severely undervalued contract.
Yeah,
right.
Fair.
But the problem is that the Vancouver Canucks are placing a very big bet on a 29-year-old who broke out last year for the first time in a very long time. And more often than not, these players tend to regress towards the mean. That's probably what we're going to see with Nazem Kadri. But I'm hoping both of these players don't do that and they continue to play well. But if JT Miller even maintains 80% of this form, this deal is going to be good for a very long time.
That's the thing, though. Like, I don't really doubt that it's going to be a good deal for the first. I don't know. You said the same thing about Kadri. The first 3 or 4 years, I don't see this being bad because he's still going to be in his early 30s. But players similar to Kadri, like, he's not a great skater. That's not what he's known for. And your legs are presumably your first thing to go. And if you don't have them to begin with, we've already seen it a little bit with John Tavares. He's not the quickest, and you can tell that it's catching up to him, especially as a centerman. That's the only big concern with Miller. It's the same with Kadri.
Yeah, but I guess the contrary to the Tavares versus the Miller one is that if Miller turns out to slow down heavily, you're saving $3 million against the cap compared to Tavares, and the cap is going to go up. But I mean, if you look at JT Miller's stats, I didn't know he was such a good play driver. Like, first and foremost, starting just from very regular advanced stats, like primary assists, chance assists, primary shots assists, in-zone shots assists, rush shots assists, power play assists, everything, literally in-zone entries and exits. He's in like the 80th to 90th percentile for literally every stat. Like, this guy does a lot with the puck on his stick. But not only that, like, when you have a guy that puts up 99 points and 32 of them are goals, like right now he's probably worth 10.
Yeah, and like, I guess we haven't fully adapted to players making double digits regularly, but as the cap hopefully goes up, that's what you're going to be paying somebody like this, right?
Yeah, so much agreed. When you think about like whether he's going to continue what he's doing, I think a great metric is to look at play driving, and that's one thing we worried about Nazem Kadri. But man, this guy's play driving stats are insane, and I think this contract holds up for the next 3 to 4 years. And I mean, similar to what you said with Calgary, I mean, I think Vancouver is also in this 3 to 4 year window with this core now.
You think?
The question is what did the Vancouver Canucks do? Like, I'm thinking about this. They aren't good enough to win a cup.
That's what I was.
But they're good enough to make the playoffs. Like, what do?
Are they good enough to make the playoffs in the Pacific? Because can they break the top 3? Like, are they? I don't think they're better than Calgary. I don't think they're better than Edmonton. If Vegas can be like somewhat decent, I think they'll be battling it out for that 3rd spot, but there's no guarantee.
Yeah, the problem is, also
and the
Kings are a good team as well. I don't understand. Before the JT Miller trade or like the re-signing happened, it looked like obviously there were 2 options that were going to happen for the Vancouver Canucks. Number 1, sell the farm for JT, hope to get 2 first-round picks, and then you rebuild around Pettersson, Hughes. But then when I thought about it, like Pettersson and Hughes aren't extremely young anymore. They're 23? It's getting to the point where these guys need to get playoff runs under their belt if you're ever going to think about winning a cup, right? Or else they're going to turn into the Buffalo Sabres where they're just in a perpetual 25-year rebuild where they draft an unbelievable player like Eichel, do not build around him, do not have any stars around him, and then you get into this state where you're never doing anything. So I guess this is the Vancouver Canucks front office showing that they're dedicated towards making the playoffs.
Which is, I guess, respectable. It's also a new front office. They probably want to like prove that they can make a push, or they want to like start things off on a high note. I just wonder if they could have gotten more long-term value out of a trade.
Without a doubt, they could.
Because maybe you get a couple first, or you get prospects, but I wonder if you also could have gotten a decent young player as part of a trade. Maybe it's part of a bigger trade, and you get a player that's more suitable to your core. Right?
I'm pretty sure that at the deadline last year, the New York Rangers offered, I think, 1 or 2 firsts and Philip Hedl. And I mean, that's a pretty good return for a 29-year-old center who only showed 1 year of being phenomenal. And albeit, we'll look really stupid if next year he puts up 105 and the year after he puts up 90.
Possible.
But the problem is that when you operate under uncertainty, like every single GM and every single person does in the world, I mean, these are all just percentages at this point. And I agree. If you could have gone 2 firsts in Philip Hedl, I don't understand why they didn't pull the trigger, especially at a time when they didn't think that they were going to sign him. Maybe obviously they know more than we do. I guess they had a good indication that he was coming back.
They must have, but it's just weird. Like he was in trade rumors all year. Like guys aren't usually in trade rumors all year if there's no truth to like them being shopped around. And even this summer, we were talking, like, wasn't there almost like they put a deadline on signing like versus trading? Like if they couldn't get something done before the start of the season, they were going to trade him at some point.
Yeah.
Could have been a big deadline chip too if they realize like, hey, we're not going to be making a push for the playoffs. And at the deadline where you can add more salary at that deadline just because of the way the cap works, you maybe could have gotten a bigger return. But clearly they're committed to whatever they think is going on there.
See, I've always thought about this too. I wonder what it does for a player to know that, okay, so this is assuming that he didn't ask to be traded, and I don't think JT Miller ever formally came out and said he requested a trade. I wonder what it does for a player when you know the organization has been shopping you for almost a year, and now you sign back to them for another 8, right? In your head, it's like they were trying to get rid of me. Did they not get rid of me because the return wasn't good enough, and now they're stuck with me? I don't know how that plays out. But it seems like the Vancouver Canucks are all in now, and now my question is honestly, like, what do you do? What do you do?
It's not like they have a ton of cap space. They have like OEL's contract for another, I think, a year or two. I know it's not the full $8 million. I think it's like 625 or something like that. But they're not operating with a ton of cap space, and they're not contenders. So they're in this weird spot where they don't have the luxury of making many moves unless it's like they're gonna trade guys who are making money, but that doesn't necessarily make you better. So they're in a tough spot. Maybe they believe that this group can build on the momentum they had last year because they had a really, really bad start and they made a bit of a playoff push. So maybe our judgment's clouded by that really bad start, and they really believe that Boudreau can make this team like a real challenger in the Pacific. Which, if it works out, then clearly they were right in their intuition to make this decision. But it's a big bet.
I think Bruce Boudreau is honestly the saving grace to JT Miller. When they were the saving grace to re-signing JT Miller. When they were really, really bad, it was clear that JT Miller kind of looked like he wanted to be traded. Well, Boudreau comes back and they go, 15-5 and all just marginally missed the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe they tailed off towards the end, but they were there. Maybe
JT Miller now thinks that this team is ready to win. And when I think about whether they're ready to win, and remember, this is a subjective indication for what I think a good playoff team is. First and foremost, forward depth, and then I look for a great goalie, and then obviously like a stud defensive pairing that can get you 20 to 25 minutes a night. The Vancouver Canucks are built the right way. Like Thatcher Demko is a top, I would say, 6-7 goalie in the league when healthy.
Can argue that, yeah, for
right?
Sure.
Number 2, their starting defensive pair isn't terrible. OEL's a good player. Quinn Hughes is a good player as well, and their forward depth is unbelievable.
It's decent.
Decent, really? You don't think it's
I don't
top?
know, like
you don't think it's top 15?
Kind of, top 15 makes you average.
I guess that's true. Okay, so let's think about it. Number 1, they got JT Miller, and then it's Hoglander. Besser's kind of regressing a bit, but he went through a lot of personal stuff this year.
Yeah.
And if hopefully to God everything is better with respect to his family. We're hoping for the best, and if it is, maybe he comes out and plays a lot better. Then we have Pettersson, and then I'm missing. Did I say Hoglander already?
You said Hoglander. They also have Bo Horvat.
And I'm missing one more young player as well. I can't remember who it is.
They also got this Russian guy. I can't remember his name. I'm gonna quickly look it up.
Podkolzin, that's who it is.
Well, Podkolzin's there too.
That's
He's
who it
very
is.
good. But they got this guy, Andrei Kuzmenko
Yeah.
from the KHL. Is one of the, like, every year there's a guy from the KHL who's like the hot commodity, and he was that guy this year. They also have Connor Garland. Like, they're deep. I just don't know if they don't have any superstars.
And okay, so
which
now
is fine.
the reason why I got into this is because when we think about what do they do next, and remember, this is probably a bit of a long shot, but I did say where Patrick Kane would fit best.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe a month and a half ago. I did say the Vancouver Canucks. It was a bit of a long shot, but now if he's going to go anywhere, it might be to a team with a great city who just signed a top 4 American player in the league long term that he's going to get to play with. I mean, the pieces look like they're falling the right way. If they give up a first-round pick, they throw in the Tyler Myers contract, maybe throw in a couple more seconds, get Patrick Kane, and then sign him for another 3 years. It's a long shot. But you're right. It seems like this team is missing a superstar.
Yeah, Pedersen's still young, so he can become that. I don't necessarily see that happening because he would have taken a step and he's kind of plateaued already. But he has had injuries. Yeah, I think you can get by without firepower, but everyone needs to be playing all the time. Like, everyone needs to be on.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there needs to be some confidence in the fact that there is a guy on the team that can score a goal when you need it to. And Patrick Kane is that guy. And it seems like all the pieces are falling so perfectly. I don't want to be one of these podcasters that makes all of these very random long shot claims. But if there was a time for the Vancouver to go get a big time player, it's when he wants to be traded. It's when there's 1 year left on his deal. They're in a great market. They just signed an American player to long term, and they're clearly in a push in a division that they can get there. They can make the playoffs. I don't know. I think Patrick Kane fits well in this team. Do I think he goes there? Probably not.
Yeah, that's whether he fits well and whether he wants to go there. 2 different conversations. I wouldn't mind to see him come into Canada and play in the West. He'd be far away from the Leafs, which is good, and it would just be kind of fun because we have some Canucks friends. Is that even English? I don't know, but it would be cool to see him come here. I don't mean, like, on a really quick side note, like I read some reports say they don't plan on getting they don't want, they're happy to stay for now or whatever, like him and Taves.
Really?
Yeah, like they apparently. I mean, there's all these reporters. Like, who knows where they get their info from? But I wonder if Kane and Taves are so petty. If they're going, I don't know if they are or aren't petty, but if they want to be petty, they just stay and be like, nah, I'm gonna screw this team over and not get them the draft picks, and then just sign wherever they want next season.
The problem is just Patrick Kane isn't getting any younger.
No, he's not.
Right? And if he falls off, I did read a similar report that Patrick Kane does want to start the season with the Chicago Blackhawks and then be traded at the deadline. It makes sense from his perspective. He wants to choose a team that doesn't have a lot of promise and then flops. So, I mean, if he's going to get traded at the deadline, I mean, the Canucks are still probably a team that's going to be on that cusp at the deadline. If they start half as badly as they did last year, they could be in a playoff push, and who knows what they do at the deadline. Who knows?
True. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content, and find the link to our full podcast and all our socials in the description down below.
Also, don't forget to turn on those notifications to get live updates on new videos that we release.